Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shilakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasme Shri Guruve Namah. Jai Shila Gurudev, Jai Shila Prabhupada. We're reading from Canto 1, Chapter 11, during the purport of 16th and 17th verse. We are at for the descriptions of different acharyas which are mentioned in the and also Sri Nityanand Prabhu is also mentioned in this verse, and we are reading the descriptions of them. So we are at Pradyumna. Pradyumna, incarnation of Kamadev, or according to others, incarnation of Sanat Kumar, born as the son of personality of Godhead Sri Krishna and Lakshmi Devi, Srimati Rukmani, the principal queen at Dwarka. He was one of those who went to congratulate Arjuna upon his marrying Subhadra. He was one of the great generals who fought with Shalva, and while fighting with him, he became unconscious on the battlefield. His charioteer brought him back to the camp from the battlefield, and for that action, he was very sorry and rebuked his charioteer. However, he fought again with Shalva and was victorious. He heard all about the different demigods from Narad Ji. He is one of the four plenary expansions of Lord Sri Krishna. He is the third one. He inquired from his father, Sri Krishna, about the glories of Brahmanas. During the fratricidal war against the descendants of Yadu, he died at the hand of Bhoja, another king of the Vrishnis. After his death, he was installed in his original position. Charu Deshana, another son of Shri Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna and Rukmini Devi. He was also present during Swayambara ceremony of Draupadi. He was a great warrior like his brothers and father. He fought with Vivindaka and killed him in the fight. Samba, one of the great heroes of Yadu dynasty and son of Lord Shri Krishna and wife Jambavati. He learned the military art of throwing arrows from Arjuna, and he became a member of parliament during the time of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was present during the Rajasuya Yajna of Maharaj Yudhishthira when all the Vrishnis were assembled during the time of Prabhasa Yajna. His glorious activities were narrated by Satyaka before Lord Baladev. Satyaki before Lord Baladev. He was also present along with his father Lord Shri Krishna during the Ashwamedha Yagna performed by Maharaj Yudhishthir. He was presented before some rishis falsely dressed as pregnant women by his brothers, and in fun he asked the rishis what he was going to deliver. The rishis replied that he would deliver a lump of iron which would be the cause of fratricidal war in the family of Yadu. The next day in the morning, Samba delivered a large lump of iron which was entrusted to Ugrasen for necessary action. Actually, later on, there were foretold fratricidal war when Samba died in the war. So all the sons of the Lord left their respective places and, leaving aside all engagements, including lying down, sitting, and dining, hastened towards the exalted father. Fratricidal. Shri Guru. Relating or denoting conflict within a single family. Okay. Text 18. They hasted toward the Lord on the chariots with the Brahmana bearing flowers. Before them were elephants embedded of good fortune. Conch shells and bulges were sounded. Vedic hymns were chanted. Thus they offered their respect with their saturated which was saturated with affection. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The Vedic way of receiving a great personality creates an atmosphere of respect, which is saturated with affection and veneration for the person received. The auspicious atmosphere of such a reception depends on the paraphernalia described above, including conch shells, flowers, incense decorated in elephants, and the qualified brahmanas reciting verses from the Vedic literature. Such a program of reception is full of sincerity on the part of both the receiver and the received. Text 19. At the same time, many hundreds of well known prostitutes began to proceed on various vehicles. They were all very eager to meet the Lord, and their beautiful faces were decorated with dazzling earrings, which enchanted the beauty of their foreheads. Srila Prabhupada's Purnam. We may not hate even the prostitute if they are devotees of the Lord. Even to date, there are many prostitutes in the great cities of India who are sincere devotees of the Lord. By tricks of chance, one may be obligated to adopt a profession which is not very adorable in the society, but that does not hamper one executing devotional service to the Lord. Devotional service to the Lord is uncheckable in all circumstances. It is understood herewith that even in those days, about 5,000 years ago, there were prostitutes in the city of Dwarka, where Lord Krishna resided. Okay. This means that prostitutes are necessary citizens for this proper upkeep of society. The government opens wine shop, but this does not mean that the government encourages drinking of wine. The idea is that there is a class of men who will drink at any cost, and it has been experienced that probation in the great cities encouraged illicit smuggling of wine. Similarly, men who are not satisfied at home require such concessions, and if there are no prostitutes, then such low men will induce others into prostitution. It is better that prostitutes be available in the marketplace so that the sanctity of the society can be maintained. It is better to maintain a class of prostitute than to encourage prostitutes within society. The real reformation is to enlighten all people, become devotees of the Lord, and that will check all kinds of deteriorating factors of life. Srila Bilva Mangala Thakur, a great acharya of the Vishnu Swami Vaishnava sect, when the householder life was overly attached with a prostitute who happened to be a devotee of the Lord. One night when the Thakur came to Chintamani's house in torrents of rain and thunder, Chintamani was astonished to see how the Thakura could come on such dreadful night after crossing a foaming river which was full of waves. She said to Thakur Bilvamangala that his attraction for the flesh and bone of an insignificant woman like her would be properly utilized if it would could be diverted to the devotional service of the Lord to achieve attraction for the transcendental beauty of the Lord. It was momentous hour for the Thakur, and he took a turn towards spiritual realization by the words of a prostitute. Later on, Thakur accepted Chintamani, the prostitute, as his spiritual master, and in several places of his literary works, he has glorified the name of Chintamani, who showed him the right path. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.32, yesterday I was talking about the verse 2.34, right? Actually, I was talking about 4.34.
Okay.
Tadvidi pranipratena pariprashnena seveya updeshyanti te jnanam jnaninam tattvadarshina. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.32, the Lord says, O son of Pritha, even the low-born Chandalas and those who are born in the family of unbelievers, and even prostitutes shall attain perfection of life if they take shelter of the unalloyed devotional service of me. Because in the path of devotional service, there are no impediments to declared birth and occupation. The path is open for everyone who agrees to follow it. It appears that the prostitutes of Dwarka, who were so eager to meet the Lord, were all unalloyed devotees, and thus they were all on the path of salvation according to above version of Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, the only reformation that is necessary in the society is to make organized effort to turn the citizen into devotees of the Lord, and thus all good qualities of the denizens of heaven will overtake them in their own way. On the other hand, those who are non-devotees have no good qualification whatsoever. However, they may be materially advanced. The difference is that the devotees of the Lord are on the path of liberation, whereas the non-devotees are on the path of further entanglement in material bondage. Thus, the criterion of advancement of civilization is whether the people are educated and advanced on the path of salvation. Advanced civilization is one which has people who are on the path of salvation. Text 20. Expert dramatists, dancers, artists, singers, historians, genealogists, and learned speakers all gave their respective contributions, being inspired by the superhuman pastimes of the Lord. Thus they proceeded on and on. Who are these genealogists? Professional research study family history. Okay. Srila Prabhupada's purport. It appears that 5,000 years ago, the society needed services from dramatists, artists, dancers, singers, historians, genealogists, public speakers, etc. Dancers, singers, and dramatic artists mostly hailed from the Shudra community, whereas the learned historians, genealogists, and public speakers hailed from the Brahmana community. All of them belonged to particular caste and they became so trained in their respective families. Such dramatists, dancers, singers, historians, genealogists, and public speakers would dwell on the subject of the Lord's superhuman activities in different ages and millenniums, and not in ordinary events. Nor were they in chronological order. All the Puranas are historical fact described only in relation with Supreme Lord, in different ages and times, as well as on different planets also. Therefore, we do not find any chronological order. The modern historians therefore cannot catch up the link, and thus they unauthoritatively remark that the Puranas are all imaginary stories only. Even 100 years ago in India, all dramatic performances were centered around the superhuman activities of the Supreme Lord. The common people would be verily entertained by the performance of the dramas, and yatra parties played wonderfully on superhuman activities of the Lord, and thus even the illiterate agriculturists would be participant in the knowledge of Vedic literature, despite a considerable lack of academic qualifications. Sorry, Hari Hari. Therefore, expert players and dramas, dancers, singers, speakers, etc., are required for spiritual enlightenment of the common man. The genealogist would give complete account completely of the descendants of a particular family. Even the present movement, the guides in the pilgrimage sites of India submit a complete account of genealogical tables before a newcomer. This wonderful act sometimes attracts more customers to such important information. Text 21. Okay, you read. Mute.
Krishna. Text 21, translation. Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, approached them and offered due honor and respect to each and every one of the friends, relatives, citizens, and all others who came to receive and welcome him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is neither impersonal nor an inner object, unable to reciprocate the feelings of his devotees. Here, the word yathavidi, or just as it behooves, is significant. He reciprocates just as he behooves with his different types of admirers and devotees. Of course, the pure devotees are of one type only because they have no other object for service but the Lord. And therefore, the Lord also reciprocates with such pure devotees just as it behooves. Behooves? It is a duty or responsibility for someone to do something. Okay. Namely, he is always attentive to to and the matters of his pure devotees. There are others who designate him as impersonal, and so the Lord also doesn't take any personal interest. He satisfies everyone in terms of one's development of spiritual consciousness, and a sample of such reciprocation is exhibited here with his different welcomers. Text 22, translation. The Almighty Lord greeted everyone present by bowing his head, exchanging greetings, embracing, shaking hands, looking and smiling, giving assurances and awarding benedictions, even to the lowest in rank. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. To receive the Lord Sri Krishna, there were all grades of population, beginning from Vasudeva, Ugrasena, and Gargamuni, the father, grandfather, and teacher, down to prostitutes and chandalas, who are accustomed to eat dogs. And every one of them was properly greeted by the Lord in terms of rank and position. As pure living entities, all are separated part and parcels of the Lord, and thus no one is alien by his eternal relation. Such pure living entities are graded differently in terms of contamination of modes of material nature. But the Lord is equally affectionate to all his parcels despite material gradation. He descends only to recall these materialistic living beings back to his kingdom. And intelligent persons take advantage of this facility offered by Supreme Personality of Godhead to all living beings. No one is rejected by the Lord from the kingdom of God, and it remains with the living beings to accept this or not. Text 23, translation. Then the Lord personally entered the city accompanied by elderly relatives and invalid brahmanas. Invalid brahmanas? In, try invalid brahmanas completely, not just invalid. Individuals born into a Brahmin family but who lack the required spiritual knowledge, character, and adherence to Vedic duties. Okay, okay, okay. Who are not practicing those duties. And invalid Brahmanas with their wives, all offering benediction and singing the glories of Lord. Others also praise the glories of the Lord. Perpetual the Brahmanas in society were never attentive to banking, money, or future retired life. When they were old invalids, they used to approach with their wives the assembly of the kings. Mm, yeah, yeah. Currently practice those things. Yeah. And simply by praising the glorious deeds performed by the kings, they would be provided with all necessities of life. Such brahmanas were not, so to speak, flatterers of the king, but the kings were actually glorified by their actions. And they were sincerely still more encouraged in pious acts by such brahmanas in a dignified way. Lord Shri Krishna is worthy of all glories, and the praying brahmanas and others were glorified themselves by chanting the glories of the Lord. Text 24 translation. When the Lord Shri Krishna passed over the
I think the main reason from what I understand is the older Brahmanas, they walked first, like behind Krishna, because they are senior, so they are there first. Because
yeah.
in Indian tradition families, we respect the elders and we give them, like, basically if someone goes to temple, they'll take the older person first and they let them, right? I think like that it is.
Hmm, maybe. Yeah. Thank you. When Lord Shri Krishna passed over the public roads, all the ladies from the respective families of Dwarka went up to the roofs of their palaces just to have a look at the Lord. They considered this to be the greatest festival. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. To have a look at the Lord is a great festive occasion, undoubtedly, as it is considered by the metropolitan ladies of Dwarka. This is still followed by the devout ladies of India. Devout, yeah, especially during the days of the Julan and Janmashtami ceremonies. The ladies of India still throng up in the greatest number at the temple of the Lord, where his transcendental eternal form is worshipped. The transcendental form, the Lord, installed in the temple is not different from the Lord personally. Such a form of the Lord is called Archa Vigraha or Archa incarnation and is expanded by the Lord by his internal potency just to facilitate the devotional service of his innumerable devotees who are in the material world. The material senses cannot perceive the spiritual nature of the Lord, and therefore the Lord accepts the Archa Vigraha, which is apparently made of material elements like earth, wood, and stone, but actually there is no material contamination. The Lord being Kaivalya, one alone, there is no matter in him. He is one without a second, and therefore the Almighty Lord can appear in any form without being contaminated by the material conception. Therefore, festivities in the temples of Lord, as held generally, are like festivals performed during the manifestive days of the Lord of Dwarka. About 5,000 years ago, the authorized acharyas who know the science properly, perfectly, install such temples of the Lord under regulative principles just to offer facilities to the common man. But persons who are less intelligent, without being conversant with the science, mistake this great attempt to be idol worship and poke their nose into that to which they have no access. Therefore, the ladies or men who observe festivals in the temples of the Lord just to have a look at the transcendental form are 1,000 times more glorious than those who are non believers in the transcendental form of the Lord. It appears from the verse that the inhabitants of Dwarka were all owners of big palaces. These indicates the prosperity of the city. The ladies got up on the roofs just to have a look at the procession and the Lord. The ladies did not mix with the crowd on the street, and thus their respectability was perfectly observed. There was no artificial equality with the man. Female respectability is perceived more elegantly by keeping the women separate from the men. The sexes should not mix unrestrictedly. Text 25, translation. The inhabitants of Dwarka were regularly accustomed to look upon the reservoir of all beauty, the infallible Lord, yet they were never satisfied, satiated. Purport by Sri Aurobindo. When the ladies of the city of Dwarka got up on the roofs of their palaces, they never thought that they had previously many times seen the beautiful body of the infallible Lord. This indicates that they had no satiation in desiring to see the Lord. Anything material seen for a number of times ultimately becomes unattractive by the law of satiation. The law of satiation acts materially, but there is no scope for it in the spiritual realm. The word infallible is significant here because although the Lord has mercifully descended to the earth, he is still infallible. The living entities are fallible because when they come in contact with the material world, they lack their spiritual identity, and thus the body materially obtained becomes subjected to birth, growth, transformation, situation, deterioration, and annihilation under the laws of nature. The Lord's body is not like that. He descends as he is, and he is never under the laws of the material means. His body is the source of everything to be, the reservoir of all beauties beyond our experience. No one, therefore, is satiated by seeing the transcendental body of the Lord because there are always manifestations of newer and newer beauties. The transcendental name, form, qualities, entourage, etc. are are all spiritual manifestations, and there is no satiation in chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no satiation in discussing the qualities of the Lord, and there is no limitation of entourage of the Lord. He is the source of all and is limitless. Text 26, translation. The Lord's chest is the abode of goddess of fortune. His moon-like face is a drinking vessel for the eyes which hanker after all that is beautiful. His arms are the resting places for the administrative demigods, and his lotus feet are the refuge for few pure devotees who never talk or sing of any subject except his lordship. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are different classes of human beings, all seeking different enjoyments from different objects. There are persons who are seeking after the favor of the goddess of fortune, and for them, the Vedic literature give information that the Lord is always served with all reverence by thousands and thousands of goddess of fortune at the Chintamani Dham. The transcendental abode of the Lord, where the trees are all desire trees and the buildings are made up of touchstone. The Lord Govinda is engaged therein herding the Surabhi cows as his natural occupation. These goddess of fortune can be seen automatically if we are attracted by the bodily features of the Lord. The impersonalist cannot observe such goddesses of fortune because of their dry speculative habit. And those who are artists overtaken by the beautiful creation should better see the beautiful face of the Lord for complete satisfaction. The face of the Lord is the embodiment of beauty. What they call beautiful nature is but his smile, and what they call the sweet songs of the birds are but specimens of the whispering voice of the Lord. Wow. Yeah, can you please highlight it? Mm. There are administrative demigods in charge of departmental service of cosmic management, and there are tiny administrative gods in the state service. They are always afraid of other competitors. But if they take shelter of the arms of Lord, the service of administration is ideal executive head and can well protect the interests of the people in general. The Lord can protect them always from the attacks of enemies. A faithful servant of the Lord engaged in the service of administration is the ideal executive head and can well protect the interest of people in general. Other so called administrators are symbols of anachronisms. A person, a custom, etc., that seems old fashioned or and does not belong in present. Anachronisms leading to the acute distress of the people who are governed by them. The administrators can remain safely under the protection of the arms of the Lord. The essence of everything is the Supreme Lord. He is called Saram. And those who sing and talk about him are called Sarangas. Oh,
Instrument also, which is called saranga.
Sarang.
And Srila Prabhupada really liked that actually. Um, Once in Mayapur, he called the this thing
Mm-hmm.
uh, people who play sarang, and he made them play during the morning program.
Oh,
This was amazing, amazing. My Guru
oh,
Maharaj plays the tune of it while he's chanting.
okay. Very well. The pure devotees are always hankering after the lotus feet of the Lord. The lotus has a kind of honey which is transcendently relished by the devotees. They are like the bees who are always after the honey. Srila Rupa Goswami, the great devotee acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, has sung a song about about this honey, lotus honey, comparing himself to the bee. O my Lord Krishna, I beg to offer my prayers unto you. My mind is like a bee, and it is after some honey. What is this bhajan? Therefore, give my bee mind a place at your lotus feet, which are the resources for all the transcendental honey. I know that even big demigods like Brahma do not see the rays of the nails of your lotus feet, even though they are engaged in deep meditation for years together. Still, O infallible one, my ambition is such, for you are very merciful to your surrendered devotees. O Madhava, I know also that I have no genuine devotion for the service of your lotus feet. But because of your lordship is inconceivably powerful, you can do what is impossible to be done. Your lotus feet can deride even the nectar of the heavenly kingdom, and therefore I am very much attracted by them. O Supreme Eternal, please therefore let my mind be fixed at your lotus feet, so that eternally I may be able to relish the taste of your transcendental service. The devotees are satisfied with being placed at the lotus feet of the Lord and have no ambition to see his all beautiful face or aspire for the protection of the strong arms of the Lord. They are humble by nature, and the Lord is always leaning towards such humble devotees.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। जय श्री प्रभुपाद जय